good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Coffee and Sports in the Morning. I'm your host for today, Mr. William D. Morgan. Happy to have my brother Mo Better here with me. Mo, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, coming off of a fun All-Star weekend.
Hold up now. Hold up now. Wait a minute. It wasn't all good. We got 80, maybe 85% good. But the thing I did want to touch about with you first, that damn dunk contest. That thing was trash, Mo. It was trash.
I mean, look, the dunk contest is constant work, and they're constantly trying to put work into it. Their biggest struggle is you can't get the bigger names, some of the bigger stars, to compete in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And look, I thought there were four competitors. Now, two of them shouldn't have been there at all,
Right.
but there were two, the two finalists who up until the finals, they had put on some really interesting and exciting dunks. So overall, I agree. Look, the dunk contest wasn't very good, but I think it was more about the level of talent that you had overall in the field. That was disappointing. And look, I'm a Laker fan. I'm going to support the Lakers always, but Jackson Hayes had no business being in the dunk contest. The young man from the Magic, he didn't even know he was going to be in the dunk contest, so he didn't have no dunks planned. So, look, it wasn't great. I enjoyed the All-Star game or the All-Star weekend solely on the fact that the three-point contest never disappoints me, and I really had a good time watching the actual games. I would call it more of a tournament, but watching the tournament because you actually had competitive basketball.
Can we just go ahead and just for forever from this point forward, just ban Jackson Hayes from the dunk contest? Can we just ban him right now?
I think Jackson Hayes is going to ban Jackson Hayes from the dunk contest. Um, or a family member. Somebody, they're not going to have him back.
That thing was trash.
Look, look. Some people's dunking ability is meant for more for game situations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Than it is trying to put on a show. He's not a showman. Look, I appreciate him having the confidence to go out there and competing, but it was what it was. It's funny because prior to the All-Star game, Brett and I talked about this.
Trash.
I picked Con Knipple and Dame as the two guys that I thought had the best chance to win in 3-point shootout. And lo and behold, good for Dame.
Yeah.
It's big for him. And it was a great moment overall for the All-Star weekend. Like I said, it was a fun weekend. I don't go into NBA All-Star weekend thinking about the slam dunk competition. I never do. It's an afterthought for me.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in everything else that goes on around. Even when they had, how they have the teams and the shootout and Team Knicks versus team, that was fun. That's entertaining stuff, and it was fun to see Allen Houston out there. Still got that jumper, still got that range. I had a good time. Corey Maggette showed up. Corey Maggette did his thing. So again, it was fun. I saw a few players said that they would be interested in doing a one-on-one. That would be it would be interesting to make happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe for fear of injury, and I get that. But overall, I thought the NBA did a good job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Give me. I thought that even though the dunk contest was bad, three-point shootout was great. And it looks like it's going to be even better next year because Steph looks like he's throwing his name in a hat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you, son. The thing that I was impressed with was Sunday and the way they competed on the court. I was really impressed with those guys. They competed. The players faced a lot of scrutiny from the media and about not competing, and they really showed up. First of all, I was impressed by Kawhi Leonard. He showed that when he healthy, he can play. He showed
Yeah.
when Yeah, he showed when he was healthy, he can play. Um, and Anthony Edwards got down to. Tell me what your thoughts about Sunday was.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Let me answer Gene's question real quick. I think the last time I really cared about the dunk contest was Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
That particular year, that matchup, I'll put that matchup against any matchup all time. In terms of the quality of dunks, the back and forth of it, that matches up with MJ and Dominique or any other dunk contest. So yeah, I think that's the last time I really was entertained and cared for it. But yeah, you nailed it. It was competitive, and look, it was Wemby that set the tone. Wemby came out and said, "I'm trying to win this," and he played like he was playing a regular season game. He's pinning shots, he's snatching boards, he's attacking the basket. I think he made them. He kind of set the tone. There's always a tone setter.
Yep.
And this was mentioned before. The guy that was the tone setter for more than a decade was Kobe, because Kobe understood there was a showmanship aspect to the All-Star game, but there's also a competitive aspect, and Kobe was always the tone setter. So I thought the tone setter yesterday was Wemby, and then the guys that quickly responded to it were guys like Kawhi Leonard, Jalen Brunson. Like, they got after it. And it was fun to see. And to your point about Kawhi Leonard, when Kawhi Leonard's healthy, top 10 player. It's not a question. When he's healthy, he's one of the 10 best players in basketball.
Now the problem is getting him to can stay healthy consistently, but and the injuries have taken some ability from him to play defense the way he once did. But hey, we ain't worried about all that. We worried about that offense, and the offense was looking great. Anthony Edwards looked good last night too. He looked like he was aggressive, wanted to take things upon himself to get that win, get that MVP. Do you think this is something the NBA can sustain over time? Because this is a great format. I like it. Do you think the NBA would be able to keep this consistency going with this format?
You hope that this isn't a one-off, right? You hope that we don't go back next season to the status quo.
Yeah.
But I will say this, that because of the nature of the tournament and how the guys competed, this also felt like a changing of the guard. Like, we came into the tournament thinking it was about the world team, but it was never really about the world team. It was really about the younger stars versus the older stars. And I felt like, and look, if it was just one game, team versus team, I think the older stars win. I think by the time they got to the finals, anybody that knows basketball could tell immediately that squad, nobody had their legs.
Nope.
Nobody had their legs. And those young dudes ran them out the gym. They beat the brakes off them. And I like that, because that was the younger stars being led by Anthony Edwards saying, we're going to run these dudes out the gym. And I know it's an all-star game moment. It's an all-star game, but that's what it felt like, a changing of the guard. And I hope that Anthony Edwards and some of the other young guys on his squad can take that momentum into the second half of the season and into the postseason.
Braun was out there dunking, and this goes back to we looking at the slam dunk contest. Braun out there dunking on somebody's head. Ain't nobody saying nothing about it. Ain't nobody even mention it. When them threes jacked up from the logo, everybody was excited. Everybody was happy. Has the three-pointer itself overtaken the dunk as far as the excitement from the NBA, or are we still old school and looking more at that dunk?
I think what happened is what the three has done is it has more value than a dunk. Like, look, we still raise up when a guy gets a dunk and he dunks on somebody's head or does something spectacular. But now, if a guy comes down court and hits a 35-footer over a couple of defenders, I feel like that has just as much impact. And more importantly, in terms of the game, it means more. The three has more value, right?
Yep.
So in a lot of ways, yeah, I think that the 3-point shot, I'm not going to say it's replaced the dunk, but it's more valuable than the dunk. And nowadays, in today's NBA, it gets just as many oohs and ahs.
Okay, so I'm about to ask you an egregious question, but you will be the person to ask. Who got the better midi? Kawhi, KD, or SGA?
I still think it's KD.
Okay.
I look, Kawhi's tremendous. Obviously, you know what I feel about SGA as a player. He's a monster, but we're talking about a 7-foot monster that he can give you the midi from the right corner, left corner, center, as well as just taking you off the bounce. So those other two guys are incredible. But if I'm saying out of those three players, I would still take Kawhi, or I would still take KD. Just his ability to create his shot, and then when you look at the way he shoots and where he shoots it from, you're not blocking that.
All right, let me ask you this. Now that we're past All-Star Weekend, we're done, we're past it. We go back to business as usual in a few days. Who are some of the teams? Are you still looking at OKC as far as coming out of the West? Do you look at Cleveland with James Harden in tow, being able to take that team to the next level? What are some of your thoughts about the second half of the NBA season?
So I heard something crazy right before we went on this morning. I heard, and look, it's not the first time, Will, that Kendrick Perkins has said something crazy.
Oh, yeah, not the first.
But he said he thought that the Clippers could end up being the most dangerous team in the West. No, they can't. No, they can't. They're not. They're not gonna,
old.
They're not. It's not that old, and they just don't have the talent. And
No.
in the Western Conference, the reality is Kawhi could play. He could play great, and they're still a playing team. So let's just stay in reality. No, they can't be the most dangerous team in the West. They're more than likely they're not going to make the playoffs. But let's start at the top. When they're fully healthy, the Thunder is still the team to beat. They are.
I agree.
And based off of what he's done this year, now what may happen is he might not play enough games to qualify for MVP. And I'm talking about SGA. I think him, Joker, and Wemby, they're all coming up on it. I think Wemby I don't think he can afford to miss even another game or something like that. So, but assuming that he might be able to hit the 65 game mark, SGA is going to be the MVP again. And he would be deserving of it because he's been without his second best player most of the season, and they had the best record in the NBA. They didn't miss a beat, that primarily because of what he did and how he's played. I think this season he's made a stronger case for MVP than last season. So I think that OKC fully healthy is the team to beat. If they have a kryptonite, if you want to call it that, I think the toughest matchup for them is San Antonio.
Yeah.
Because San Antonio has as much depth. They're more athletic than Oklahoma City. And then they've got a one-off because Wemby's an alien. And and OKC hasn't figured out how to guard that alien.
Now, what's your thoughts on Denver?
Get Joker healthy, get Aaron Gordon healthy. Denver always is going to have a shot if they're fully whole. Remember, they took OKC to 7. That series goes either way.
Yep.
If it goes Denver's way, maybe Denver's a 2-time champion and we're having a completely different conversation. So I really think there are 3 legitimate threats in the West. And I think it's the defending champions. I think it's a healthy Nuggets. And even though my gut tells me they're a year away, sometimes when you're as young as the Spurs are, you don't know what you don't know, right? And Wemby is their best player, but the guy that sets the tone for them is Castle, right? Yep. Castle's the dog on that team. Wemby's the best player, but Castle is the alpha on that team. And I think when you've got a guy like that, you have a shot. When you've got a Dylan Harper who's a rookie but plays like he's a 10-year vet, when you've got Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, that kind of depth and that kind of talent, yeah, I really do think, even though they're young, the Spurs are a scary matchup for anybody. And I know a lot of people are going to say the Rockets. I think the Rockets' problem is I don't think they have enough shooting, and more importantly, they don't really have a legitimate primary ball handler, and it shows more times than not.
They need a legitimate point guard before I can say they would be in contention. They need to get that position addressed. Hopefully they will, if not this season, next season. Because I still think we haven't seen, because without a point guard, we still got Van Fleet. Hopefully he comes back healthy. But I just think with the Rockets, they're still a work in progress because you haven't seen that point guard and what they can do in the regular season. So I'd like to see that before we start saying that they are title contenders. Now, let me ask you, and I want to flip it over to the East for a second, and the Greek Freak. It, at first, it looked like Milwaukee was taking suitors for Giannis. It looks like they were, but then they ended up not doing it. Do you think that's a mistake? And do you think we'll see him being traded maybe in the offseason?
So different franchises go about dealing with franchise players, transcendent players, different ways. I remember near the end of Kobe's career when obviously he'd come off the horrific injury. He was nowhere near the player that he had been, but they decided to extend him anyway, and bring him back when a lot of people thought it was time to, start fresh. I'm not saying trade Kobe, but move on from him. And
Right.
they brought him back, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's a franchise showing loyalty to one of the greatest players ever, but it did ultimately cost them. They weren't good.
Mhm.
They were really bad for a reason. And I think that Milwaukee's kind of thinking, they're pondering that right now. Like, my gut feeling was if they didn't trade him this season, a lot of people were talking about suitors are going to be coming at them in the offseason. I don't believe he's leaving. I believe that Milwaukee is going to give him the supermax, extend him, and try to put supplemental parts around him to make another run. And look, Dirk stayed with the Mavs. Kobe stayed with the Lakers. Duncan stayed with the Spurs. It happens.
Mhm.
It might well be Giannis's lot in life is he will be a lifetime Buck. They're probably not going to win another title, but that doesn't mean he can't make them relevant. That doesn't mean that he can't make more All NBA teams, more All Star teams. Like, he can still get individual accolades and add to his resume that way. So I'm leaning more towards he's going to end up retiring a Buck. I think he stays with the Bucks. I don't think he moves.
All right. Let me get back to more of the NBA as a league itself. Um, how can we fix this tanking issue? How can we fix that?
I think Adam Silver has got to be the leader on this, more out front on this, and he's tried. Right, obviously, if
Yep.
you look at some of the penalties he put out there, but I don't think like I agree with Wemby and others that you can't penalize franchises into not tanking. They're going to still value the tanking more than your penalties.
Right.
So I think he's going to have to come up with another solution. You know, for you know this, Will, that for years you could book it for certain franchises, the Kings, the Jazz, the
Yep.
Hornets. Like there's like 4 or 5 franchises, the Wizards, the usual suspects that are always right there at the lottery. And I don't mean once in a while, like they're perennial front seaters at the lottery.
Oh yeah.
And to me, I don't think you can keep rewarding failure. And by the way, the Kings being at the lottery, the Wizards being at the lottery all the time, it hasn't benefited them.
No.
They just keep going back to the lottery. One, they don't know how to draft. And two, when they do get talent like the Kings, well, they give up on it too soon or they trade it away because they don't know what the hell they're doing. I,
Agreed.
I think you have to find a way to not reward failing. Like if you're the worst team in the league, I'm not sure you should be by default have the most chances to get the number 1 pick. Maybe we need to go about it another way. Because the current system isn't working. It hasn't worked. We can take this all the way back to even when the Sixers were doing when they were tanking, the whole trust the
The
process thing,
process.
and they ended up with mixed success, obviously because they did hit on Embiid and they did hit on Ben Simmons,
Mhm.
but they didn't hit on Markel Fultz, right?
Nope.
I can't remember what the big man's name is, the kid out of Duke. They didn't hit on him either.
Nope. So
Uh,
didn't.
and so that can set you back. Tanking isn't always the path to success. I would rather if you lose, just lose earnestly, like you tried and you just weren't good enough. You just weren't good enough. So I do think that Silver and the NBA's powers that be, they need to really find a way, sit down and come up with another plan to dissuade tanking other than penalizing clubs because that won't work.
Let me ask you this. Switching gears again, going over to a team that has been successful, unlike the 76ers. Going over to the Celtics that look like Jason Tatum is about to make a return. Let me ask you this: with the way they're playing right now, because Boston's playing some very good basketball, with the way they set up chemistry, is it going to be a problem to bring Jason Tatum back into this rotation? Because we've seen it work once, but we've also seen it fail with this very Boston team with Gordon Hayward. Is it the right move to bring Tatum back, or should you just hold him out and bring him back next season?
The easy answer is if he's 100%, I guess you bring him back. If he's 100%, holding him out till next season won't change anything. It's not like the 100% goes up to 150%.
Right.
Either the doctors sign off and go, no, this guy's as healthy as he could be or is gonna be, or they're gonna say, well, he's damn near 100%. Well, if you're damn near 100%, you're not playing. So you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
I remember with the KD situation in Golden State, and nobody thought he was healthy except Golden State. And
right.
Look what happened.
Because my issue is you look at chemistry, and they're to the point right now that you have guys who weren't playing the season before, also coming in playing big minutes, helping that rotation and helping them win. Jaylen Brown is playing like MVP level right now. And my concern with bringing Tatum back, why would you cut into that chemistry? Even if he's at 100%, why would you cut into that chemistry? Because you're doing so well without him. Why would you bring him back again to cut into that chemistry that you fought so hard to build? It could be somewhat of a challenge on any coach.
No, I think it can be a challenge. I agree with that. But I will say this though, that system that they run, Tatum knows that system inside and out.
This is true.
So I get it that he's a huge piece, and guys that are currently getting more shots than they've ever gotten before will get less shots when he returns. But I think that what I would tell people is the Jason Tatum that's returning to the Celtics, it's not going to, at least this season, it's not going to be the guy that averages 27 points a game. This will be Jason Tatum with the roles reversed, where he'll be more of a second or third option. Right. And look, if he can be an effective second or third option, it's a bonus for Boston, especially in the Eastern Conference where they're competitive right now. I think the East, even though Detroit's number one in the conference and New York's there, and obviously Cleveland's going to be there with the move they made, if they can get Jason Tatum back, let's say he averages 19 or 20 points a game, but shoots a high percentage in a lesser role, I think the Celtics could still win the East this year.
All the teams that we have right now, give me a team that you trust to make it in the East and a team that you trust will make it in the West. Probably got OKC as that team that you trust in the West, but who do you trust in the East to make it?
I don't know if I could use the word trust. Let me start this way. I'd like to see a team like Detroit to go on a big run.
Right.
I honestly don't think. I think the roster they have, their roster construction, it is very similar to the roster construction the Bulls had years back, where you had Derrick Rose and he was surrounded by a bunch of dogs and overachievers that did the dirty work. Yeah, let's chill. Right. And I still think Detroit needs a number 2 option. I think they need another guy. They're another guy away, to me, from going to the. They'll still be competitive. I just don't think they have enough. I think the Knicks have more overall talent. Cade Cunningham in the Knicks Pistons series could be the best player in that series, and the Knicks still win.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the team in the East that I would lean more towards, even with all their flaws, it would be the Knicks. If I had a dark horse in the Eastern Conference that nobody's talking about, it would be the Sixers.
Ooh.
A fully healthy Sixers could be the scariest team you want. Look, they're not a perfect team, but I'm talking about
No.
fully healthy
Mhm.
with what you've seen from this version of Embiid.
Mhm.
I think the Sixers are a tough matchup for anybody when they're fully healthy. So I look at the Knicks, I look at the Celtics. I mean, with the addition of Tatum, and obviously what the Cavaliers did by bringing in Harden, which is a huge piece. I get why those would be the front runners, but if it's sports, so we always look to the underdog. I think the Sixers are the team that can come out of nowhere and upset people.
Maxey is so doggone quick, man.
He's a blur.
That's gonna be tough. That's tough, man. You saw it yesterday. In his little playing time that he got in the All-Star game. He is so quick off, man.
He said, I actually thought Anthony Edwards and Maxey set the tone in the championship game.
Yeah.
They just came out and just established right away that, oh, if you don't have your legs, we're gonna run you at the gym. And there was nothing the older team could do. Like they were just sizing these guys up and blowing by them at will. I really think that the older stars' goal was to make sure the world team lost. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying they weren't being competitive, but they were making sure that as long as they lose, as long as we take care of them, and they did.
We
that.
take care of the
right,
young guy. Yeah.
And I'm not saying they quit. The young guys blew them out. They didn't quit. They didn't have their legs. They just got blown out. They outright beat them.
Oh yeah.
And I enjoyed that. Look, Maxey is so quick. You know this, Will. Like you look at a guy like Maxey, and he's at the top of his game, throwing an edge comb, Embiid, Paul George when he gets back. Like they Quentin Grimes, they have a roster.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, they're a tough out. They wouldn't be my favorite, but they're a tough out.
Damon is up here asking about the Hornets. What you thinking about the Hornets?
As a fan of the game, I love what the Hornets have done over the last month. It's like somebody flipped on a light switch and suddenly they're competing on both ends of the. And they're not a great defensive team, but they're a really interesting offensive team when they play with purpose. So you're getting the best version of LaMelo. Miller's playing well, and then of course the guy that I think that sets the tone for them, Con Knipple. They've turned it around to me. LaMelo's their most talented player, but Con Knipple sets the tone for that team. A rookie sets the tone for that team. So look, I love it, and I hope they can sustain it. I think it's good for the NBA if a team like the Hornets can play their way into the postseason, get some new blood up in there. I think that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you on that. Now, what about the Raptors?
I think the Raptors are they're an enigma because the names are familiar. RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, BI. They have talent, but I feel like the three guys that we just named offensively, they're very similar. And I don't know that if they necessarily fit together. Like Scotty Barnes is kind of the do everything guy. He's clearly the best player on that team. And I asked this question before. There's no question that Scotty Barnes is their best player. The question I have about Scotty Barnes is, can he be your best player and you be a title contender?
Right.
And I lean more towards, if you're going to be a title contender, Scotty Barnes is probably your second best player.
Good point. Let me ask you about the Magic.
That's a mess. That's a mess. You get things, sometimes we get things really right, and you don't know why the stars align and you get some things wrong.
Right.
I know prior to the season starting, Brett and I thought Paolo was going to have a breakout MVP caliber season.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt that way before the Bane trade.
Right.
Now, the Bane trade didn't hurt them, but it didn't have the impact initially that we thought it would have. But that wasn't about Bane. That was more about the dynamics between Paolo and Franz.
Yep.
And let's throw coaching in there too, because if you watch the Magic play, they just run a series of ISO flares. They're an ISO team. And Paolo and Franz have yet to prove that they can play consistently well together. I don't, maybe it's because they're so similar, it doesn't work. I don't know.
Because I don't think you can. Because I don't think, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't think you can win a championship that's playing iso ball.
No, I'm with you. I think the Magic are in danger of not making the playoffs. They might still make it, but the way they've played this year, the disconnect, the lack of chemistry, they're not going to go on a deep run. And you have to do more. Well, you're right. They don't move the ball very well. They have a lot of talent. Remember, we're talking about Paolo and Franz, but don't forget the kid Anthony Black. Anthony Black is going to be a star in his own right. And Desmond Bain has picked it up, and it looks more like Desmond Bain. But the problem is there's just a lack of chemistry, and they don't really run a system. It almost looks like they play street ball. My turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. And they don't play defense the way they did the last couple of seasons. So I'm not talking crazy because I've heard people say, well, they should probably trade either. You're not going to trade Banchero. You're not going to trade Banchero.
No.
But you do have to find a way to get the best version of him. And if I were going to criticize Banchero, I would say for his talent, Will, and for his size, he settles too much for jump shots. When you're that skilled off the dribble and you're about 245 pounds, you should be wearing people out getting to the free throw line at will. He should be shooting 10 to 12 free throws a game.
Yeah.
And he's settling way too much. The difference between him and Franz is all Franz does is attack the basket. Franz is the more aggressive of the two. Franz does not settle for jump shots. Franz takes everything to the rack. So if you're going to say which one plays harder, I think it's Franz. Which one is the more talented, gifted player? It's clearly Banchero. So I think that's more about system. That's more about coaching. And if one of them were going to get moved, it would be Franz.
Yeah. That'd be interesting where you would send him, because I know Golden State was interested in him at one point.
I think a lot of teams would be interested in him. He's a bucket getter.
Oh, yeah. That'd be interesting. Let me move on over to the West real quick. I'll call them, I know it's your team. I'll call them the biggest tease in basketball, the LA Lakers. I'll call them the biggest tease in basketball. Can the Lakers make some noise? Can the Lakers make a run?
I'll use the phrase, so I'm telling you there's a chance. But if I were a gambler, and I'm not a gambler, I wouldn't put money on it. The Lakers, let's start at the obvious part. They're not a good defensive team.
No.
They can't stay in front of anybody. And you would think that, and I think they may have tried to address their weaknesses. They wanted to get a perimeter player, a wing, an athletic wing that could defend and score, but that's easier said than done. Yes. And I think they were trying to connect with the Pelicans about Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, and the Pelicans made it clear we're not trading anybody. And so the Lakers are going to go with what they have. And so what they have is they have a team that when they're on offensively with Reeves, LeBron, and Luka, if they play at their pace, they can almost surgically dissect you. The only problem is if they can't control the pace and it's more up and down, they can't stay with anybody either. They just don't have the legs. And they've got, I would argue, 4 of their 5 starters can't guard anybody. And that's a problem. So do I think the Lakers potentially can make a run? Yeah, you could always say potentially. Realistically, no. I think they're a second-round exit.
I think it was Stephen A. who said that if you get LeBron, particularly the last game he played before the All-Star break when he had that triple-double, a healthy Luka, unhealthy AR, that they could make a run. I'm sorry. I'm just into the boat of, because of their defensive deficiencies, that and I don't like their bench. They're just a tease to me. They're not a serious contender to me. One wrong matchup, they gone.
I agree. They're top heavy too, right? So all the firepower is in the starting lineup, right?
Yep.
And then you go to the bench and you're hoping for production. from different players, and you're not really getting it consistently.
Well, at least
Um,
they finally got rid of Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, I guess that's something. But and look, a lot of people were talking about the triple double right before the All-Star break. I would just say you have to look at who they played too, right?
True,
Like,
true,
they didn't play world beaters.
true.
They sometimes the competition or lack thereof matters.
So
So
true.
maybe more than any time in this current NBA, there are a lot of nights and a lot of teams that don't bother to show up to play at all.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're going to have those blip games where people put up huge numbers because there's a lack of competition. There are a lot of really good teams, but I would say that the bad teams balance things out.
yeah.
The Lakers are entertaining to us, Will, because of the names LeBron, Luca, and then you got Austin Reeves.
Mhm.
Just when you say those three names, you should go, wait a minute. So they've got two All-Stars, one guy that was almost an All-Star in his own right,
Mhm.
and we think they're a first round exit. Yeah, because they just aren't good defensively. They're not good in the half court set defensively, and they're one of the worst teams in transition defense because they don't run. They don't have the legs to run like that. So that's just the reality of it. Could the Lakers beat a team? Could they upset a team like the Rockets? Maybe.
But that'd be an
Um,
upset, though.
I think it still would because you would still look at the Rockets with Şengün, Durant, and Amen Thompson. Like they've got talent. They just don't have a floor general.
Hey, man, why we got to go P. Will, man? Why?
Okay.
Why? I don't understand how that man is still on that team. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why are the Bulls holding on to Patrick?
Billy Donovan.
Why?
Maybe Billy Donovan thinks he can coach him up still.
Oh, man.
Somebody needs to tell me, and it's not on Billy Donovan. Really, you should look to the GM. The problem with the GM is I think the GM did try to move Patrick Williams, but I think that other teams in the league were like, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think they would mind taking him. The problem was the Bulls gave him that contract, and everybody's like, "I'm not taking that dude with that number."
Right. That's a big number for him.
Right. When you look at what he does on the floor and his production, yeah, it's not worth it.
All right, I'm gonna ask you another question, another theory question. Give me an NBA team that's like right there, like on the cusp. If they got one thing, if they got that one thing, like you mentioned with Detroit, if they get another score, give me that one team for that one teeny bitty thing that they need. You give it to them, and they become successful. They become champions. Give me that team that's on that cusp.
We started with them. It's Houston.
Yep.
They've been playing point guard by committee most of the season, and they've gotten by because they are talented. When you've got a big like Şengün, who's a 20-10 guy and a good passer, when you've got Durant, and then you've got a guy like Amen Thompson, who is one of the elite defenders and athletes in the league, you're going to be right there. Not to mention the other guys like Tari Eason. They are a talented team, but I think they desperately need. And Reed Shepherd has had moments, but he hasn't been consistent in terms of what he does on both ends of the floor. Like he's worked at it, but he's not a good defender and he can't really stay on the floor. I think Houston desperately needs a point guard. And I know you mentioned maybe this is more about next season. The only problem I would say with next season is that's another year on Durant's body. Now you're talking about he's 38 years old.
Right.
Look, I love that in this current era, because of the way health, recovery are highlighted, and rest, that guys' careers are longer, right? Like, look at Westbrook. Even though he's not the player that he was, he's in year 16, 17 competing. DeMar DeRozan still playing at a relatively high level. Harden is 36, 37 playing at a high level. Steph, Durant, LeBron, KD. Even though guys are playing longer than they've ever played, at some point will they hit the wall?
Yeah.
And so I think the clock is ticking on Steph and KD and LeBron and all those guys. Like You don't know because we've never seen this many great players play this long, this late in their careers. We don't know when the wall's going to hit them, but when it does, as a franchise, you kind of always want to be prepared for that, right?
Mm.
And with Houston, they won't tell you this, but they're like, we're thinking about winning it all this year, right? Because we don't know if KD is going to be the same KD next year. We'd like to think he is, but there's no way you could know that. Cleveland took a mighty swing. They did a Hail Mary. They traded Darius Garland, who's a full decade younger than James Harden, a decade younger, because they felt like Harden gives them the best chance to win. And look, I don't disagree. He's 10 years older, but he's a much better player. He's better. He can do things that Darius Garland could never do. James Harden had 13 points and 11 assists, and he only made one shot that game, and he had 13 points. He has a superpower in year 15, 16 that Darius Garland will never have. James Harden can still get to the free throw line 10 or 12 times a game.
Right.
That's a superpower. On a bad shooting night, he can still generate offense. That's something that's going to help Cleveland in a tough postseason when shots aren't falling, that he can still generate offense when he's not shooting well.
I thought you would have said Detroit.
No, well, look, yeah, I was thinking about them too. Look, I said it. Detroit, they don't think so because it's what they do is a winning formula. They outplay you well. They rebound the basketball. They defend at a high level. The problem is what happens in the postseason when the game slows down and it becomes more of a grind and half-court execution and teams are rushing at Cade. What happens when you take the ball to Cade's hand? Who's going to be the guy that can give you 20 consistently or 18 consistently? I know Jalen Duren's really good, but Jalen Duren should be your third option, not your second option.
Not second. I agree with that.
And that's the problem.
I agree with that. All right, everybody. We got about 12 minutes to go here on Coffee Sports in the Morning on Wide Wide Network. Got a question from the chat here, Mo. I want you to take this one. Questions with the problems that the WNBA is having right now. Wouldn't it make sense having the women playing the All-Stars, building up the product?
I mean, I think it would have been interesting. I don't think the product's the problem. I think the problem is there's a disconnect between the players and the commissioner and the people up in the commissioner's office. There's a disconnect about revenue sharing and money.
Right.
The product's been terrific. They just came off another great year. Like the product is amazing. In a lot of ways, if you watch the WNBA, Will, a lot of those players, those teams, they're more fundamentally sound than a lot of NBA teams are. They just had their one-on-one tournament. They just had the and it was outstanding. Like, I don't know if you watched it, but I watched the one-on-one tournament and they were hooping. Like the matchup between, I think it was Chelsea Gray and Paige Beckers. That was street ball. That was street ball. Like, it was heated. And Paige Beckers, when she got called, it was a foul called on her late, and she just snapped. She lost it. But that's how much she wanted to win. So you love to see how they compete. There's no lack for talent. There's certainly not a lack for big names. I mean, now you've got Paige buckets to go with a Caitlin Clark, Ionescu, and then you've got all the other talent throughout the league. Don't forget, we'll eventually have a person like Juju Smith, and it's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah.
So there's no shortage of talent in the WNBA. I think the product is there. This is really more about, I guess, strengthening the partnership between the commissioner's office and the player. There's a lack of trust, and I think they got to find a middle ground. And I will say this: I think they could promote. They certainly could promote the WNBA a lot better than they have. I'll say that they could promote the league a lot better.
Oh yeah. Why not add 2 women to the 3-point contest? Hey,
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either.
Nope. I like that idea. I am here for it. I love that idea. I'm with you. Ionescu, Clark, why not? Put them out there and see what happens. Like it's about shooting, it's about skill. I think they'd have a chance to win.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, facts, straight up facts. Now, last few minutes of the show, we got about 9 minutes left. I do want to talk some WWE talk, and then we'll head on out of here for the day. What's some of your thoughts about WWE lately? The state of the WWE. What's your thought process? Where you going with it?
I'm always curious about storytelling and how they're going to do the stories and what it leads up to. And I see where they're going with Reigns and Punk. That's an easy one. I'm curious to see what they're going to do
Morning, Ando.
with the vision going forward, because obviously a Braun Breaker's injury that changes a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
So you've got to come up with another storyline. And then sometimes I'm disappointed because I want to see somebody younger talent get a push. Will, you know what I mean? Like they have so much young talent, and they seem to want to hold on to the older guys being at the top all the time.
We had on Friday Night SmackDown, we had Jade go against Jordan Grace. Jade gets the win. My problem is I don't think they know what to do with Jade, because that was her first title defense in 100 days.
Right.
I don't think they really know what to do with her per se. Jordan did come up short. But I don't know, because it's kind of like, okay, you got past someone who's a powerhouse wrestler. She won. It looks like Liv Morgan is in Jade's sights. Okay, is that believable? I don't know. Are they putting Jade in a spot to where she's sort of kind of boxed in? How you can't see anyone really beating her clean.
Well, see, here's the thing about that though. Liv's a heel already. Liv's a heel.
Yes.
And when you're a heel, you have a much bigger bag than a face does, because you're a heel. And you can get help. And if you win with help, we don't think nothing of it because you're a heel, right?
Right.
So I think Liv is credible to beat her. She's not stronger than her or anything like that, but she is more skilled in the ring. She can outsmart her. And if she gets some help from the outside, distract the referee, and somebody go upside her head, she can win. I feel like the obvious matchup is going to be Liv versus Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see that. I actually want to see Liv versus Jade.
Mm.
I want to see Stephanie Vaquer go up against somebody where that's more interesting. Like, it's not going to happen, but they've yet to think about this, Will. Stephanie Vaquer's been a fighting champion.
Yes.
But they've not put her up against any of the top women talent in a ring. Like, they put her up against good talent, but I'm talking about at the very top of the roster.
Very top of the card.
Yeah, no matches against Rhea. No matches against even Tiffy time. Like, when are they going to put her up against some of the top stars to defend her belt? Because I'm a fan of hers, but right. I think you only get elevated by the talent that you're in the ring with. And obviously Rhea being a tag team champion, her and Io, it looks like they'll probably end up defending those maybe at WrestleMania, which means that Rhea's out of the singles picture.
Yeah.
So it's kind of disappointing from that standpoint. And then with Bianca Belair's health situation, she's probably not going to be competing anytime soon. So that's disappointing.
It is. That really is. All right, we're almost out of time for today, my friends. I want to thank everybody for coming through. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank, real quick, let me show this real quick. Triple threat, Liv versus Stephanie versus Hey, that wouldn't be bad.
I actually like that.
That wouldn't be bad.
Because push come to shove, Liv turned on her girl. Matter of fact, that's the storyline, right? They'll probably turn on each other, which will give Stephanie the opportunity to win the match.
Oh, yeah. Another one here. See, I don't know if you take away from Nia, though, because if you take away from Nia, that's her mouthpiece.
Not yet. I see, Will, you're spot on. Damien, it's a good idea, But Will's right. I think Lash is gonna be a star, but I think she needs more seasoning.
Oh yeah.
I think you, what's the line? You crawl before you walk. I
Yep.
think at some point her and Nia become tag team champs, right?
Yep.
And then they have a nice little run at that. And then eventually, when that comes to an end, you make her more of a solo act, because obviously her size and her power, look, she's already probably a better wrestler than Jade is now.
Yep.
So yes, I think there's going to be a future for her as a solo star, but I think I'm okay with her and Nia as a tag team. Matter of fact, if you saw the matchup between them and Io and Rhea, it's very believable that that tag team could beat Rhea and Io because of their power.
Yeah. Real quick. So what's up to my man Kyle? Kyle, what's
Hey,
up, brother?
Kyle,
How you
what's up,
doing?
Kyle?
How you doing, brother? All right. Want to say thank you to everybody coming through this morning. We do appreciate y'all. Don't forget to come back tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, for the Sports Report podcast with myself, Ando, and my man Seven. We'll get you caught up in the world of sports. We'll give our take on the All-Star game as well. And if there's nothing more, Mo, go ahead and take us out, my friend.
Hey, everybody in the chat, we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for coming through. Make sure you check out all the great content that we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you guys.
Have a good day, everybody. We're going to take you out with some of the great shows that you can catch here on Wire to Wire Network, and we'll see you tomorrow.